Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Thursday, July 22nd, 2021. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, as always, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, well, she is the straw that stirs the drink. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta, Sheila Gunn Reid. How you doing, Sheila?
David, I'm doing great. But you know what? Let me ask you how you're doing for once. How are you doing? Because you are producing a lot of great work out of Toronto. And I feel like maybe you're getting more rest or something. You're looking great.
Oh, you're so kind. Today I got up at 3:30 in the morning and I couldn't get back to bed, so I just went behind my desktop, and I think I'm about to hit a wall in 3 minutes. So if I have no idea why, because I haven't got up at that crazy time since the old Menzoid mornings during the Sun News days. But
that was my favorite show, by the way. I hope they let you keep the set.
Not even the man cave. In fact, the whole building is now a shell. It's a tear down because there's going to be some obscene 72-story condo going up or some such thing. But you know, Sheila, off air, I got to get from you your mailing address, because I was thinking of you when the July-August car and driver dropped in my mailbox. It is their all-electric vehicle issue, including EV of the year. I'm going to channel Ed McMahon from the old Johnny Carson shows, but we've got electric cars. We got electric hypercars. We have electric crossovers, electric SUVs, even electric pickup trucks. Sheila Gunn Reid, I hesitate to say that everything you want to know about electric vehicles is in the July-August car and driver. What do you think about that?
Is there anything in that car and driver that a man might drive?
Well, there's an ad on the back for a Kia K5. Others walked away from sedans. We turbocharged ahead. Maybe you'd like that. I don't know. But you've still got that resentment percolating. But you know what? You got to see the new prototype for the all-electric Ford F-Series truck. I think it might convince you.
I'm sure it won't. I'm 100% sure it won't. I'm hanging on to the internal combustion engine with both hands. They'll pry it from my cold, dead hands, obviously.
You know, this is what going to all those UN climate change summits have done. This is, you know, your interactions with Greta Thunberg. It has totally turned you off. But like I say, you get the green plate, you get to drive in the HOV lane by yourself. That's my only reason. It shaves so much time off the commute. But Sheila Gunn Reid, once again, denying the future. Anyhow, what is it that we're hoping to do here, Sheila?
You know, it's interesting that you brought up the UN climate change conferences, because the only time they ever canceled that was when there was the potential for like an actual real emergency instead of their fake made up climate emergency. Like it was, they canceled it last year because of the coronavirus, but they never canceled it because of the impending doom of the climate catastrophe that they keep telling me is going to happen. And how many years do we have left? 9? Something like that. They keep telling us.
I'm
it's
sure
something like that.
Just like COVID, the authorities will keep moving the goalposts, right? In terms of, you know, how many people need to be vaccinated before we can get back to normal, and how many variants are still en route. But I'll tell you, folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, Sheila Gunn Reid did some absolutely brilliant reporting when she'd go over to Europe to cover these climate change summits. And they think they're trying to cripple our coverage by denying Sheila the opportunity to go into some conference hall and listen to a bun-throwing snore fest of all these sanctimonious climate hustlers talking about all the gloom and doom to come. And in fact, they did Sheila a favor. I mean, I loved the sidebar stories you dug up, Sheila. Like, here's something about climate change, and there's diesel-powered generators everywhere.
That's my favorite. Because I'm I'm a diesel lady. I love diesel. I've got a Jeep that's diesel. The farm runs on diesel. My husband's in the oil patch. So the sound of a diesel generator is the sound of romance for me, right? And so when you go to these things, the hippies don't know that noise. They don't know that gentle white noise hum that warms my heart. But I'm like, what's that? That's diesel singing me a sweet lullaby. And so like you go and find the diesel generators that literally power everything at these events. Everything. They don't even plug them into the grid. They don't even pretend to put up a solar panel field. Everything is run by generators, and they put it behind steel fencing so that anybody who might know something won't see them. But I know. I followed them. And I love them. There's the heaters. Those are kerosene heaters. Oh, look how happy I am.
And look at that hairdo. What beautiful hair you had. Well, you have.
What's wrong with my hair now, David? So rude.
It's a different style. But you know what? It's the substance that counts. That reminds me.
What is happening? Justin.
I heard some kind of foreign language there, but no, and it just shows you, Sheila, whenever those in charge, and that'll lead up to one of our stories with Alexa in Montreal getting the runaround, whenever they try to put the kibosh on us, whenever they try to censor as well, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and we always bring back the goods, and sometimes they're doing us a favor by keeping us outside, because then you come across some real stories that, of course, the mainstream media will never find, because they're all in that sanctimonious lecture hall nodding off as the next climate hustler speaks. But I digress. Sheila, usually around this time, actually before this time, you tell the folks what it is that we're ostensibly trying to do here.
You know, those climate change conferences, that was the first time that I ever worked with Efron, like closely, just he and I worked Efron like a dog. Like a dog. I was dragging him out in the snow, and yeah.
That was the one in Poland, right?
Yeah.
And wasn't Efron just wearing these like regular loafers, and his toes were getting frostbitten or something?
Yeah, he was stepping in. I was ready. You can see I'm ready for winter. I live in a winter climate the 8 months of the year, so I was good to go. Efron shows up in like his little street shoes. I'm like, oh friend, it's going to be a long week.
Yeah, we got a cameraman that might have to go to hospital for frostbite. Where's this global warming happening again?
That was the best climate change conference ever, because Poland put it at the coal museum for spite.
Unbelievable.
They opened the event with the coal miners marching band. Like, they weren't even pretending that they were buying into any of this. And I think this year the conference is in Glasgow. And so I think I would really like to go to that one.
I would too. I haven't been to Glasgow since 1976, I think. And basically you could kind of describe Glasgow back then as Buffalo with an accent. But I've heard they've really...
Sounds like my kind of place. I'm from Fort Saskatchewan. That sounds fun.
But at one point, I think about 10 years ago, Glasgow was one of the places in Europe to go to. It was like a hot spot. They went through a lot of urban renewal, I understand. So yeah, if you're going to Glasgow, I'd like to come with you, Sheila, and check it out again.
I'm sad to find out that it's been somewhat gentrified, because I like a good blue-collar city. Anyways, yes, I should tell everybody that what we're doing, because, again, we just wasted 2 minutes since the last time you told me I should tell everybody what we're doing. So this is the Rebel News daily live stream. Used to just be on Friday, just hosted by Ezra Levant. Pandemic struck, more news than ever. We're all grounded. Most of you at home were at home with, nothing to do except watch the mainstream media. And we thought, well, that can't go on. So we gave you an hour every day to sit down and talk to us about the news of the day as it changes. And before YouTube went full censorship instead of just part censorship, it used to be a great way for us to wrangle up a little bit of cash for the company. You could support the work that we do through something called a super chat. YouTube said, oh, no. You guys are saying things that are counter to the accepted COVID narrative or whatever. And And so they've completely demonetized us. However, we do have nearly 1.5 million subscribers there. So we're not about to abandon them because some big tech oligarch said we should. We're still streaming on YouTube. But if you are on YouTube, I'll give you the same advice that I give every time that I'm on air. Take an off-ramp to a platform that doesn't hate you, like Odyssey, Rumble, and Super U, where we're also streaming. On Super U, that's a great free speech platform. You can do something called a Super U shout, and you can tip us there as a creator if you'd like to support the work that we do. On Rumble, you can watch us live there. I forget, Justin, maybe you could tell David because I can't hear you. I forget if Rumble has a tip function there, but I do know that on Odyssey.
Not yet, but it's coming, Sheila. Yep.
Perfect. That's what I like about Rumble and some of these other creator or platform creators is that they do listen to feedback from the people who are creating content to put on their sites. We would like a tip function at Rumble, and so Rumble is going to be working on that. But we're also streaming on Odyssey. Now, Odyssey has a couple different ways for you to support us. You can leave us a hyper chat in a couple of different ways. You can buy some of Odyssey's library cryptocurrency and donate that to us, or you can donate us some good old-fashioned fiat currency in US dollars at this point. So you don't have to buy their cryptocurrency. If you're like me and you don't understand cryptocurrency, maybe you're more comfortable doing the old-fashioned way. You can do that, but it's in US dollars. And you can leave us a tip also as a creator on Odyssey. So there's a few different ways for you to support us and stick it in the eye of the censorship platform of YouTube.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, Sheila. What is your theory? Not that I'm complaining, mind you, because it's such a vast audience on YouTube, but they demonetize us for absolutely no valid reason, and that's the God's honest truth, folks. I mean, they sent the terms and conditions, and we went through it with a fine-tooth comb. We don't do things like, advocate suicide, which is one thing to get you demonetized. But, we always think that the other shoe is about to drop, that there's some kind of cyber sword of Damocles over our heads, Sheila, in terms of being outright deplatformed. And I just wonder why they don't go that route. They're so big now. They're so powerful. They don't have to give any charity to anyone, really, do they?
No, I mean, for them, it's great because they've demonetized us. So they've done their best to try to cut us off from 1.5 million supporters. But at the same time, if you see an ad in front of our content, because people watch our content still on YouTube, we don't get any of that. That goes directly to YouTube. So they have the best of both worlds. Yeah. They think they're strangling us while they still get to collect the revenue on the work that we do.
That's a good point. And once again, I go back, 10, 12, 15 years to the emergence of the likes of a YouTube, Sheila. And remember then how different the world was. Remember how different Silicon Valley was. They were reaching out to everybody, regardless of political affiliation. Come one, come all, give us your content, which we won't pay for, by the way. Share your information, which we will use for our own marketing purposes. Yeah. And this is going to be one jolly, rowdy, Wild West of free speech, and then they got to a critical mass. Yep. And it was like, you out. We don't like your opinions. It's the most outrageous bait and switch scandal of the century, I think, Sheila, what happened. Because I don't think if we go back, like I said, 12 years ago, we never saw this happening, did we? Where even the president of the United States would be deplatformed.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that's the reason we were demonetized is a video akin to big tech can censor Donald Trump, they can censor you too. And so they used that video to censor us. And frankly, I don't think YouTube even foresaw the power that they have now. I think what they were 12 years ago versus what they became, I would say 4 or 5 years ago in response to Donald Trump winning the election are two very different things. I think when Donald Trump won, big tech realized he used our platforms to communicate directly with the people instead of going through the filtered lens of the mainstream media. And so we have to do something about it. And now, because of that, they've just overlaid that same formula onto all conservatives on the platform.
I totally agree, Sheila. I think just prior to Trump getting elected, we had Brexit as a yes vote. But that was the shot across the bow, but that was something across the pond. It wasn't, it was too far away to be meaningful. But like you said, when Trump inexplicably, impossibly got into the White House, then they said, we got to rejig this. But anyways, speaking of power and censorship, folks, why don't we go to a video clip of our fantastic new journalist in Quebec, Alexa. She tried to scrum Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The guy back in 2015 that promised this was going to be the most transparent government in the history of Canada. And, well, the predictable happened. Check it out.
Un papier qui disait que c'était la porte 220B qu'il fallait se présenter avant midi, avant la fermeture des portes. Bon. Puis là, je pense que ça, on s'est mal fait informer.
À vous avez passé?
En bas. Dans le fond, c'est la dame en bas qui nous a dirigés jusqu'ici. Puis
bon, on va s'installer là-bas.
Parfait.
S'il te plaît. Puis on a d'autres médias.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Ils sont tous à l'entrée en bas. Hein.
C'est ça. Je ne comprenais pas pourquoi les gens, parce que c'était vraiment clairement dit que si on n'était pas là avant midi, il n'y avait pas de moyen de rentrer. Donc, on n'a pas voulu manquer notre chance.
Bon,
parfait.
For early?
We are earlier than the rest of the people.
Democracy, freedom, and respect. Please try to make in Canada de continuer à innover.
How did you get accredited IATAX? Because your name or your name even agency is not on any list. I don't know how you got in.
I did talk with everybody when I got in. They let me wait in the room. I've been searched by the dog. Dans le fond, j'ai juste passé, en fait, je suis allée où la porte qu'on m'avait envoyée en tant que média.
C'est ça, parce que là, je me demandais, parce que moi, on vérifie quand même les gens qui se sont accrédités. Vous, votre nom et l'agence ne met pas sur la liste. Je ne sais pas pourquoi ils les ont laissés rentrer. C'est une erreur de notre part. Je ne suis pas sûr pour une question, par exemple. On va voir comment ça va. On va attendre combien de temps qu'on a, mais on va faire d'autres agences avant, puis s'il reste à la fin, oui.
They don't want me.
This is further proof that Mr. Justin Trudeau filtered the media, that he wants to receive questions. And when I arrived to ask my question, because they actually say yes, we give you the authorization to allow you a question at the end.
Oh, I'm not hurting it. Where are you with?
Register first. I think we're going to go with everybody for a question anyway. So he said 30 minutes, but I think we're going to go more.
Okay.
So it's a guy, you bring me in, so I would have a chance to say.
And you know what? At the end, they closed the microphone in my face. So I was like trying to talk, but it had no sound going out. So I realized that they were lying to me. Make me wait for my question during the time that they were organized, the fact that they were closing everything, for not authorizing me to ask my simple question to Mr. Trudeau.
They cut it. They cut it. They cut it. They cut the microphone for not letting me talk. And they agree me that I was able to ask my question.
Cowards, little cowards.
In addition, as you may have noticed, the man who did not want to identify himself and who lied to and manipulate me is in fact Terry Gillen, who is the PMO staffer Justin Trudeau media liaison and former head of the Parliament press, who had body checked Keane in a hockey ring during he was covering the Prime Minister's speech with the Indigenous leader in Saskatchewan.
Trust you, given that you kicked the only Indigenous woman out of cabinet who's ever stood up to you.
Mr. Trudeau does not wish to be confronted with the real questioning, and he formed team around him in order to filter the media.
How can anyone here trust you? How can anyone here trust you?
Again, I got to tell you, the last time I saw Terry, it was just before the world went to hell in a handbasket with COVID. It was February 2020. It was at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. There were some Liberals there to make some pompous speech on something. I went down there to cover it. And he was actually very nice to me. Which is not to say that he allowed me to ask a question.
No.
I mean, he was cordial. He didn't body check me like Ian received in that. I think that was in Saskatchewan, wasn't it? A hockey rink.
Yeah.
But you know, I think this is a dual-edged sword. Terry is playing with, because if he's going to be outright lying, then we should never listen to him, acquiesce to any demand, acquiesce to any courtesy ever again, because it's all so much steaming BS. And I mean, what harm would it have been for Alexa to get 2 questions in to the Prime Minister? But like I said, Sheila, when it comes to the most transparent government in Canadian history, it's actually the precise opposite, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Terry knew exactly who Alexa was, knew exactly who Yankee is. That's his job, to know who we are and stop us from asking questions. That's exactly his job, to facilitate the puffball questions from the CBC and make sure that no prickly journalists are there to ask Trudeau a tough question that he can't obfuscate by batting his eyelashes and showing his socks. And, you know, for a government that fancies itself as feminist, I don't know how feminist it really is to cut the mic on an independent female journalist out there just trying to do her job and ask accountability questions. Because is not a crazy person. She asks good, tough questions people want answers to. And wouldn't it be great if the rest of the mainstream media did that? She was trying, and they decided, no, cut the mic. They lied to her to buy her silence, to placate her, and then they cut the mic on her. Sleazy. And if it happened to the CBC would be losing their minds.
Oh, for sure. But, you know, Sheila, talk about a tale of 2 leaders. I look back at Donald Trump when he was the president, and he would have pressers that would go on for more than an hour, and he wouldn't cherry pick, you know, friendly journalists. He would go out of his way to, like, the likes of a Jim Acosta of CNN.
Yeah.
And they'd get into this brouhaha. I think Trump liked it. To be honest, I think Jim Acosta liked it. Suddenly he became a household name. But the point is, there was a vigorous discussion, debate, Q&A, and it wasn't sanitized for your protection. And it was, at the end of the day, so entertaining. But this Prime Minister we have, Sheila, I think he is so fragile, that he is so intellectually thin, he can't handle that kind of back and forth hostile questioning.
Yeah, that's one good way of putting, like, he's a delicate idiot who's in way over his head. And they're so scared of one tough question that they will body check a journalist and lie to another. That's how delicate of an idiot Justin Trudeau is.
Unbelievable. Well, anyways, Alexa and Yankee, they did try their best. And but you know what? How Bush League was that?
Yeah.
Cutting the microphone. You know, it reminds me, I think it was around 1980, Nash the Slash, a local Toronto musician, opening for The Who at Exhibition Stadium. So there's about 80,000 people. And this is the biggest audience Nash the Slash will have or will ever have. And instead of coming off when he was supposed to, he's giving encores. And then the inevitable happened. The promoter just pulled the plug, and you see Nash the Slash singing, but nobody's hearing anything. So I guess that's, well, because you never want to upstage the main headliner at a rock concert. So I guess that could be the new nickname for Terry, eh? We'll appropriate Nash the Slash because he's slashing cables in order to prevent our precious Prime Minister, his delicate ears, from hearing a single prickly question from a Rebel reporter. How pathetic.
Well, and people should really watch the full version of that video as opposed to just the snippet we gave here, because Alexa was having none of it. Yankee was having none of it. And the boss, Ezra Levant, was in beast mode in the last 30 seconds or so of that video. So you get to see a lot of rebels exactly the way you expect them to be. And that is doing their best to speak truth to power and not allowing themselves to be bossed around by these gatekeepers for Justin Trudeau.
And what's sad, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheila, didn't Terry himself used to be a journalist?
Yeah, he was the head of the Parliamentary Press Gallery, from what I understand. So, but again, like you and I both know, especially in your dealings with the Parliamentary Press Gallery, you want to talk about gatekeepers. They control all the access to the Prime Minister, and it's a good gig if you can get it, because you get to protect your access to the Prime Minister, which means you have exclusive content that nobody else has, which is a great way to shut out your competitors. And that's not the way it should be. They're running a monopoly down there at the Parliamentary Press Gallery. And I'm old enough to remember when we used to be against monopolies, especially in news media.
Yeah. Oh, I remember commissions looking into when one paper or one company would buy another paper and shut down competition in a certain market. That would never be allowed. Now they just go up to the public trough like so many hogs at dinner time and just dine out. And well, I guess what men will do for money, eh, Sheila? I guess he's got a good gig and he's going to shut down journalism, whereas before he used to be part of the journalistic fabric. It's kind of sad in a way. But we shall move on, and I guess we know what to expect when the election comes up. And before we move on to a conspiracy story debunked, how does that grab your attention, folks? I believe we have some chats, don't we, Sheila?
We do. And I just I wanted to ask the people listening at home. It was one of the things that our web editors suggested we ask. What's the audio situation like for the people listening? I know sometimes Ezra's really loud, and then sometimes he's really quiet. And then naturally, I know that I'm really shrill. But if you wouldn't mind leaving a comment in the live chat, wherever you're watching us, just let us know how that is. Because, you know, we've had some audio issues lately and equipment issues lately, which I think is a great segue, actually, David, into ournewstudio.com. And we, I don't know if people at home were watching last week, we were having some issues with our TriCaster. It has given up the fight. It's had a good life, worked really hard for us, but our TriCaster just, while we were on air, gave up. And so we needed to run out and replace it, and we have. Justin, maybe you might want to even run the video that the guys filmed to explain what we're asking for. We're just asking for some, actually, quite frankly, minor equipment upgrades, given the size and scope of the work that we do here at Rebel News. And you'll notice in the video with the guys there, Efron and Mocha, just how frugal we are. You can see that we're using a banquet table, like Ezra Levant's
it's true.
nightly Ezra Levant show is hosted at a banquet table with just some chairs behind it, and everything else we do using the TriCaster to save money, because then we don't have a physical studio. So anyway, we're trying to crowdfund our way to some new equipment, some new computers, a new TriCaster, just to increase our efficiency for our editors and also our web team. I think that's reasonable, especially since we are on the internet, that our web team is able to post things effectively and efficiently on the internet. So, Justin, if you wouldn't mind rolling that video, if you could.
Hey guys, had a video for Rebel News here at From Monsanto, along with
Chief Videographer Mocha Bezirgan.
We're here to tell you that we need your help once again.
Our TriCaster is no longer working. It's been working for the last 6 years, but it's not working any longer. If you were watching our live streams, you must have noticed that we were running into issues during live stream.
And this TriCaster has been in the company before I even joined as an intern back in 2017. This actually filmed the election night coverage that Ezra had in 2015. This has a lot of history. This has been through a lot of iconic Rebel moments. Remember the time that David was arrested in Brampton for bringing you the other side, and we had to go live immediately?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special emergency live stream. I have some terrible news to report. My friend and colleague David Menzies, beloved by many, public interest journalist, was just arrested.
And also remember when you were holding the phone to your face instead of recording the action?
Arrest him or go away. Okay, that's enough. Can you back up, please? My colleagues, you're not listening.
Yeah, a lot of history in this TriCaster, all these live streams. This actually films Ezra Levant's nightly show every weekday, Andrew's weekly show, and even David's show every week. This plays an integral part of the company. We're looking to upgrade our equipment to help bring you a better side of the story that you'll never see anywhere else. This includes getting a new TriCaster. This will be the TriCaster Elite 2. This will help us increase our production value for live streaming. We can stream up to 8 different guests at the same time. We can have online debates across the nation, just like we've done before. You've seen Catherine's coverage throughout the pandemic all throughout Ontario. You've seen Sydney's coverage when we sent them over to Manitoba to show you the other side of Fight the Fines for some of the egregious lockdown arrests there. You've seen Pastor Tim Stevens arrested in front of his family, recorded by our team who were there at a moment's notice. No hesitation. We want to give you the other side.
If you can provide us, once again, with the proper equipments, we can continue to do that.
Yeah, unlike the corporate press, we don't get a tax bailout to a tune of nearly $600 million every year. We would never do that. We would never trade our integrity for views or for any other things. You want to keep bringing you the other side of the story, and we would be truthful to you, the Rebel viewer, who continuously watches us. We're looking just for modest equipment. The laptops are around $2,500 all in. They're simply high-performance laptops to do field reporting. When Mocha's out in the field across the nation, he wants to be able to finish the report that same night. And we're also looking to get desktop computers for our office workers to help increase their production efficiency as well. These computers are pretty modest. They're not high-end. They're simply just work computers to get them done. You can see the specifications we asked for. They're going to cost a couple thousand each, but these will last several years at the bare minimum. Then we're also looking for a new TriCaster, the Elite Edition. It's going to cost us $40,000, and I know that sounds like a lot, but it's going to last quite a long time. You've seen the troubles we've had with the live stream and some other stuff, and we want to make sure our production quality is top-notch. You know we will never take government money like the CBC and our competitors do. You forcibly have to pay for the CBC through your tax dollars, and you have no say in that. You have a say to whether or not you want to help us and help bring you these stories that no one else will. Thanks to you, the Rebel viewer, you make this possible. Head over to ournewstudio.com and chip in if you can. Thanks again for watching. It's much appreciated.
If you chip in for this, we're going to appreciate and we're going to produce high-quality content. If you don't, you're not going to go to jail. We're not going to send armed men after you. We're not going to take any legal action against you, unlike other media that are connected to the government. We're not going to print any money to devalue your currency in your pocket. Okay, this is completely kosher, completely halal, completely voluntary, completely legal, completely okay.
I love that promo, Sheila. You can tell Mocha grew up in Turkey, right? The idea of police coming after you if you don't make a donation. We're not there yet. But then again, we don't have to be there. The mainstream media and the CBC just gets a direct deduction off every Canadian's paycheck every 2 weeks. And we don't need to send in the goon squad. But wow, 40,000 for something that looks like a top-loading VCR, but of course does so much more. And it is worth every penny, Sheila, because like you said, the alternative, well, one thing would be to build actual studios, which would cost so much more. And that's how we look after the nickels and dimes, folks. As Sheila said, I'm sitting in front of, it's just one of these fold-up banquet tables, the kind you see in professional wrestling when you have to shove somebody through a table. That's not that I want anyone here to shove me through this table, but that's the furniture here. So it's all on a shoestring because we respect our viewers' money, don't we, Sheila?
I was thinking about the amount of money that we're asking for just equipment and studio upgrades, and I thought, you know what, that's probably a CBC, one talent at CBC, their wardrobe and makeup budget.
Easy.
For sure. And we're running the entire company on that because we refuse to take a bailout. So I'm actually pretty proud of the way we do things around here.
100%. So there you go, folks. If you can indeed help us out, that would be terrific. And Sheila, I believe we might already have some chats.
We do. And again, the page to donate for the studio upgrades is ournewstudio.com.
Gotcha.
Great. So we've got a hyper chat from, hold on. We've got a hyper chat from History Club World. What do you think about the Green Party's implosion? It seems like the reason behind their lawsuit against their leader is either being anti-Jew or Israel, or they were such a cult of personality around Elizabeth May being insane. Yeah. Follow History Club World on Instagram, your hub for educational content. I know David has done some deep digging into the problems with the Green Party, but let us never forget that the Green Party allowed an actual Nazi who is in jail right now in Germany to run for the party several times. They had people in their leadership, or at least running for their leadership, that were part of these like flotillas in Israel, these anti-Israel flotillas of invading Westerners to go over there and tell Israelis that you're not allowing yourselves to be killed quite easily enough. So, never forget that this is a really, I hate to use the word systemic, but it seems to be a bit of a systemic problem within the Green Party. It's one of those things that defines them.
It sure does. And, I think, Sheila, the Green Party is disgracing itself. And by that, I don't mean the leader, Annamie Paul. I think she's coming out of this smelling like a rose. I think at the end of the day, for her taking a nuanced, balanced approach to the Mideast conflict instead of vilifying Israel and calling for a BDS movement, then there would be no problem with her leadership, folks. No problem at all. But the fact that she's pro-Israel, no, that rubs too many Greens the wrong way, including one that crossed the floor to the Liberals, if you can imagine, where, of course, she was accepted with open arms by Justin Trudeau. No surprise there. But I'm going to have a monologue on that. I'll be guest hosting for Ezra Levent, and I will lay out my thoughts on that. And I think I shared them with you earlier today, Sheila. But I'll tell you, if I was Annamie Paul, I would just walk away from this dumpster fire. I really think this is a disgrace, and I think, and I'm not taking any kind of partisan approach here. I think Canadians from coast to coast are watching this, and they're being revolted by it. And by the way, for the Green Party, the insiders, the executives, and Elizabeth May, who I understand seems to be still connected, even though she's not the leader, but might be involved in the, pulling the strings. Really, you're the Green Party. Ostensibly, you're all about environmentalism, and that's not my cup of tea. I mean, of course, I want a good environment, but I don't want to endorse the kind of crazy economic crippling policies the Green Party support. But somehow, Mideast tensions is even eclipsing that? I mean, are you kidding? It is terrible. It's terrible to see this, Sheila. And like I said, if it's a story that's changing almost every day, And I wouldn't be surprised if Miss Paul says, you know, enough with this, I don't need this. And she'll be walking away from a party that has disgraced itself.
Yeah, you know, the left, I think it's no secret that the left generally defines themselves by identity politics.
Yep. And
Ms. Paul checks a lot of identity boxes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she sounds like a pretty capable lady as far as being in the Green Party goes. I mean, so I don't know how low or high the bar is set there, but she seems like she's got her wits about her. Her and I would likely disagree on 99% of all things, except probably Israel. And I think even she would probably take a more nuanced approach to Israel than I would. But she does check a lot of identity boxes, being, you know, a woman of color.
Yes.
And yet, for the left, the one thing that defines them even more than identity politics these days is their visceral hate for the state of Israel. And usually these sorts of things are sort of relegated to the fringe of the NDP. The NDP, I think it was at their last major policy convention before the pandemic, they had like a civil war within the party breaking out on CPAC live over motions against Israel. And it wasn't that people were arguing that they shouldn't be bringing these official stances regarding BDS forward. The people in the party were arguing that these positions did not go far enough. They were arguing over how to hate the state of Israel even more than they normally do. And so usually this is something that just sort of percolates under the surface in the Green Party. And it's just there. But it's really something else to see it right out front. And, you know, normal Canadians are revolted by this, but I don't think the mainstream media is at all. I think this is just perfectly fine with them.
You know, that's a good point you raised, Sheila, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the camp of the mutineers that are trying to oust Ms. Paul. But like you said, I mean, it shouldn't account for anything, but in the identity politics poker game, she's on her way to a royal flush, you know, a black, female, and then you get into, she's Jewish, and she is not anti-Israel. Basically what I'm saying, Sheila, is that if she was atheist and an Israel hater, there is no questioning about her leadership in the Green Party right now. Zero.
Right. And again, this is the Green Party. They're supposed to believe that the existential crisis to the world is climate change and my comfortable SUV, not Israel. But this defines them. Anna May Paul can be the strongest proponent for whatever climate catastrophe measures that the Green Party thinks need to be taken to stop the impending gloom and doom 9 years from now. She can have all those policy positions perfect, according to the Green Party and the Green Party higher-ups. Her problem is that while apparently she wants the Earth to escape some sort of catastrophe, she wants also the state of Israel to escape some sort of catastrophe also, and that's just not quite good enough for the Green Party.
How sad.
Very sad. Let's keep going. We've got a hyper chat from Canadian Aussie. This is 5 libraries. Thank you very much. Anyone who supports Trudeau really has been riding the crazy train. We've got a hyper chat from Rebecca Henderson. Studying social work and now being told that child sexual abuse is on the same level as misgendering a child. Sickening. And that CAS has the authority to investigate that. Yeah, that's true. We've seen that happen. Dre has been very intrepid in covering just how parents struggling with children who are in turn struggling with their gender identity, how the government intervenes and overrides the parents' wishes when frequently, like very, very frequently, statistically speaking, these issues that children experience resolve without any sort of medical or psychological intervention at all. But there's this move by government to medically intervene in irreversible ways and override the parents' wishes.
You know, Sheila, I'm just staggered at how we continue to acquiesce and bend the knee to radical transgender activists that are behind this. We talked about this on Tuesday. I went to the park where there was a woman who is being charged with sexual assault of a 6-year-old boy. And the moment I heard this story, Sheila, at first it was on radio. Ruby Ebby, a mature female, sexually molesting, allegedly, a 6-year-old boy in a park. And I thought, gee, it's almost a man bites dog story, isn't it? I mean, the vast majority of pedophiles are male when it comes to young boys. And then I got the photo of Miss Ebby. There you go, folks. Look at that. That's a chick, if you can believe it. And when I reached out to the Toronto Police Service, and I'm not blaming the Toronto Police, this is their political overlords that are forcing them to acquiesce to this. Basically, if someone says that they're a woman, we respect that decision, no questions asked. Gee, Sheila, I think if I ever get arrested again, I'm going to identify as being innocent. Can I just go now? This is a disgrace. And you know, I think even, and I'm not lumping all transgendered people into the same basket here. Look, if you want to, go about your life.
Live your life.
Yeah.
Live your life. I don't care.
100%. But when you see, this is gaming the system, and the end goal that will be achieved if this person is found guilty, Sheila, and it's thanks to Justin Trudeau, who got the ball rolling 4 years ago to change the rules. He will be serving his time at a female correctional facility. How do you like them apples? And again, where is the feminist movement on this? They're almost silent. In fact, I've come across feminists, and when you try to have a discussion, you can't have it with them, Sheila. They chant in your face, trans women are real women. Trans women are real women. No, they're not.
What bothers me about all of this is, as a parent, you're being told to look out for this molesting woman.
Yep.
And so in my mind, and I think in most people's mind, you're then on the lookout for a woman.
Yeah.
And this actually is not. And so you've got parents on high alert for a molesting woman at the park. But that person, that genetic male, was actually who they should have been on the lookout for. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. And Linda Blade and I had an interesting conversation about this on my Gunn show this week. Linda Blade, she's the co-author of the book Unsporting.
Yes.
And she talks about this sort of science denial where you have genetic men ending up in prisons with women and stealing opportunities from women and girls. And again, the feminists are silent. They should be speaking up just on the very fact that this skews upward. That like where women are now being counted as sex offenders and predators, largely that's not the way in which women offend. That's just scientifically speaking, statistically speaking. And yet now those rates are being skewed upwards because men like this are self-identifying as women.
It's incredible, Sheila, isn't it? Be it COVID or climate change, the left is so quick to label skeptics as, embracing science denial. But when it comes to science denial pertaining to gender, oh, no. That's okay. We will deny the science there because we now worship the altar of political correctness.
It's true. We should keep going because we have about 10 minutes left in the show. We wanted to talk about your interesting story of how you debunked a conspiracy theory, which, I mean, I understand why people believe these conspiracy theories. I've been to UN events. I know I don't need convincing that the UN is sinister and wants to do sinister things to us. But there are just so many ways that they're actually doing it that we don't need to invent ways for them to do it. So let's get to a few of these. We've got a hyper chat of 15 libraries from Rebecca. Also, happy belated birthday, Sheila. I love your work. Well, thank you very much. It's very nice. We've got a rumble from Cross Comics. He said the sound is great here. Well, I'm glad. Thank you very much. Super U shout from, I think, this is my friend Vince. V. Byfield just switched from YouTube to Super U for this live stream. The Super U audio is so much better. Well, that is very interesting. Great. If that is indeed you, Vince. We've got a hyper chat from History Club World. I can hear Sheila and David perfectly. Ezra, you can also hear perfectly. I know some people are kind of annoyed sometimes because you can hear Ezra's like swallowing and mouth noises. And I know how that can make people mad. When Ezra does it, I don't get mad, but sometimes when other people do it, I get a little murderous, but it's not bad. We've got a Rumble chat from John Entwistle. These two beautiful people need a raise, Ezra.
I endorse that comment.
I just want a new TriCaster for Justin. We've got a hyper chat of $1. So hyper chat with other money from Not Atan. Is this Atan?
I think it is.
Did you know you can now donate in dollars on Odyssey? Another great way to support Rebel News is to shop our store at rebelnewsstore.com. Atan, it's on my list of things to talk about. I wrote it down. So maybe Justin, you could throw to the store, and then after, oh, look at that. Rebelize the Dogma. That's fun. Oh, Save the Pastors. That's one of my favorites because it's not just about Pastor Art, but it is about all the pastors who stood up to the lockdown, who were attempted to be squashed by the state. But as it turns out, their churches are growing. Actually, I was at Grace Life 2 Sundays ago with Ezra, who incidentally is Jewish, but likes Grace Life. They are outgrowing their building. They have so many people who want to come. They have like 100 and 150 people in tents outside, and they're looking at another location because their congregation has grown so much through the oppression of the state that they need to go somewhere else.
Well, Sheila, like they say, success is the best revenge.
Yep. Oh, this one, our T-shirt guy designed specifically because Ezra said it. He says 1984 was not an instruction manual, which is pretty great. And there's one. Sorry, go back up. Hang on. There's one where David Menzies from a movie that he probably watched when it was first in the theaters, Back to the Future. Marty, whatever's happens, don't go to 2020. Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Oh, jeez.
Woca-Cola. That's a new one. The Woca-Cola is a new one. As a hat tip to all the big corporations who decided to go woke and then go broke.
Yep.
So yeah, anyways, we've got a bunch of new stuff over in the store. It's changing all the time. And you can check it out. If you haven't not yet used your coupon code, you can use Menzies 10, and that'll get you 10% off. Now, I should tell you, you can only use that coupon code once, so make it worth your while. And I know you've obviously already used the coupon code Sheila 10 because I racked up a real victory before Christmas selling T-shirts in stores. So I know you've already used Sheila 10, so please use Menzies 10 to take advantage of your 10% discount in rebelnewsstore.com.
And an added bonus, as I've said a few weeks ago, the first person I see with the Menzoid T-shirt on, you're getting a crisp $100 bill just to, I guess, demonstrate my sincere thanks to you actually wearing a T-shirt with this image on it. My goodness. So I'm still waiting, so first one. And of course, the usual exclusions apply. Family, co-workers, and friends. I want the first stranger I see wearing that shirt, I promise you're going to get that dough. And it's still an active offer. What do you think about that, Sheila Gunn Reid?
Very generous. Very, very generous. There's one thing that Justin wanted us to talk about too, and it is the careers postings that we have. Did you know that we are, unlike the mainstream media, we're hiring because we're working really hard, and there are things that we want to do here at Rebel News. So the one that I'm really excited about, and it's especially relevant here in Alberta as we are fully open, we're looking to do more events. Remember our fun Rebel Lives? Those were so fun.
Oh, yeah.
I love getting together with the rest of the team, but also the people. And we need an events coordinator to make those happen for us. So starting in Alberta, but rolling out across the country. People like to come meet us and talk to us, which is definitely not the experience if you work at the CBC.
Wow. Look at all those jobs. That sounds really impressive. Director of Development. Sheila, do you think I'm executive material? Mr. Producer just barked no in my ear.
Well, you do meet the requirement of being a people person. I think that is 100% true. We have a campaigns manager job. So that's kind of a fun job too, because unlike, again, the mainstream media, we do run campaigns where people have the opportunity to send a message to politicians. And we'll do that in the form of billboards or petitions or the super fun billboard truck. And we need somebody who can help us put those things together and make those happen. And so, unlike the mainstream media, we've got a bunch of jobs that we're hiring for right now. They're behind the scenes jobs, but they're definitely important things to help grow our company and reach out to the people. Although we do have hiring positions for the China Affairs reporter, an Ottawa-based reporter, and a UK-based reporter. We do have a very strong UK following, and we want to make sure that we are taking care of those people. There's so much news happening in the UK with regard to the coronavirus and their politics there, but we just can't get to it. There's only so many of us, so we need a person there. And I really like the idea of an Ottawa-based reporter. Those gatekeepers in the press gallery are not going to know what hit them.
Indeed. You think, Sheila, with the Ottawa-based reporter, Rosemary Barton might be dusting off her resume and sending it in?
Yeah, no, I don't know. She's going to... The only place for her to work at is the CBC. We're making googly eyes at the Prime Minister is perfectly acceptable. It's, I think, actually a requirement of the job.
Yeah, we want somebody that can actually ask a prickly question and not the googly eyes, as you call it, Sheila. And are we caught up with the chat so far, my friend?
Oh, we have a couple more,
okay.
But maybe let's go with the UN truck story first, though, because we got a little pushback yesterday from a lot of you, and I completely understand it. Or not yesterday, I guess it would be Tuesday. We didn't actually get to the story that was in the title of the video, and then after the fact, we adjusted that. But we want to make sure that you get what you came here for, even if it is at the very end of the show. So maybe let's go to that one first, and then we'll come back and finish the chats.
Yeah, and what it is, folks, is on Sunday, social media blew up. It was people saying, oh my goodness, there are United Nations armored personnel carriers outside an Apotex pharmaceutical plant. And wow, did the theories go into overdrive? So we did what we thought we had to do, reach out to Apotex, go to the building where the armored cars are, and here's what we found out. David Menzies for Rebel News here in North Toronto. Well, folks, we have been getting tons of emails, phone calls, you name it, about this particular building here. As you can see, there were no fewer than 7 armored personnel carriers, some of them bearing the decal UN for United Nations, of course. And evidently this is or was a Apotex pharmaceutical building. So there was incredible speculation online in terms of what is this? Why in Toronto, Canada, are there these UN trucks lined up outside a pharmaceutical building? But when you dig into the story, well, sometimes appearances can indeed be deceiving. That's right, yes.
Okay, do you have any questions? I'd like to answer them.
Oh, thank you. What's your name, sir?
My name's Adam.
Adam, nice to meet you, Adam.
How are you?
I'm David Menzies. This is Kian. I'm with Rebel News. And we are just getting deluged with all kinds of emails, as you can imagine, Adam, 100%. About these UN armored trucks. Can you tell us what the story is?
We're an armored vehicle manufacturer. We manufacture armored vehicles. That's pretty much it.
Oh, okay then. And that's Inkless, right?
We're Inkless, yes.
Okay then. And you are these trucks destined for a client or?
Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah.
And you don't have to tell me the client, but a lot of people have been speculating that because it says UN, United Nations, and they were making the connection, which isn't true, that this is Apotex Pharmacy. It was, I believe, the building was sold 2 years ago. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah.
Okay then. So these UN trucks are just being repurposed for another client. Is that what it is, or?
No, I can't say where they're going or who they're going to, but they're not staying in Canada. This whole speculation of the fact that these vehicles were for United Nations here in Canada is completely wrong, and it's, you know what, it's not correct, and it caused a lot of distress in our company. Okay. A lot of people have been coming and unfortunately have been saying the wrong things, especially online, and it's unsafe for my employees, and it's unsafe for the people around us, for our neighbors, and we just don't want this type of negative publicity.
Right. I have no reason not to believe you. Believe me. I guess people sometimes see two things. They see a truck, an armored vehicle with UN on it, a building that used to be a pharmaceutical company, and they jump to a conclusion that they think is obvious, but it turns out sometimes there's more to the story than meets the eye, I guess.
100%.
Okay, yeah. Then. How's business in the armored car business then?
How is it? We're working, thankfully. Our employees have work to do, which is great. Okay. We're giving Canadians jobs. We're happy about that. We're not happy about the situation that's going on, though.
Well, I'm really appreciating, Adam, that you're clarifying it. Where were these trucks, by the way? They look like very heavy-duty armored vehicles, like for a war zone.
Again, as I've said, we manufacture them here in Toronto.
Oh, okay then. So these are brand new right now?
They're brand new.
Oh, okay then. Can we go for a spin in one, or?
Absolutely not. Yeah, not.
Sheila, I got to tell you, there's an old saying, and it goes like this: where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, you know what? Guess what? Sometimes where there's smoke, it's just a whole bunch more other smoke. It's not necessary. And this was people looking at trucks with the UN decal on it, a building that is no longer, I think for almost 3 years, Apotex Pharmaceutical. They have been out of that building. And they drew this obvious conclusion, at least in their minds, that, oh, what is this? Is this going to be armored personnel vehicles patrolling Toronto and shanghaiing unvaccinated Canadians to get the jab and make sure they're vaccinated? And that's clearly not the story. In fact, the story, Sheila, to me, this is a good news story. The fact that there's still manufacturing left in Toronto, despite government red tape, despite the COVID crisis, you name it. I think that's fantastic that this business, Inkless, is making these wonderful armored vehicles and make a whole other raft of vehicles as well, armored stretch limos, armored BMWs and Mercedes sedans, so on and so forth. So basically, that is the story. And think about it, to those who are still clinging to the belief that there's a conspiracy afoot here, that inventory of vehicles, Sheila, those 7 armored personnel carriers, you're looking at millions of dollars for sure.
Yep.
If the UN is going to be springing some kind of crazy plan on Canadians using millions of dollars worth of armored vehicles, but they didn't want that word to get out, don't you think they could have bought a few tarps from Canadian Tire to cover up the vehicles? I mean, they're in plain view because, there is, no nefarious thing going on here. And by that, I'm not saying I'm a supporter of the United Nations. Absolutely not. But even right now, Sheila, I'm getting in my email box, UN trucks in Toronto, 5 exclamation marks. By the way, folks, 1 exclamation mark is always enough. Don't even do 2. Okay.
From the guy who sends me 5 B emojis instead of just 1. That's the thing. That's what actual journalism is, right? Is that, you and I come from a position where we think the UN is sinister sometimes and useless other times. And so, we have a natural inclination to think that they could be up to something, but you have to follow the facts wherever they lead you. Yeah. And while I honestly wouldn't be surprised to find out that the UN was doing things on Canadian soil, like what Justin Trudeau is really great at giving away Canadian sovereignty to globalist elites. I mean, that's sort of the whole reason for his existence. But we have to follow the facts wherever they take us. And they took us to a place of Canadian job creation, Canadian manufacturing, which is, as you say, a good news story. And so, I think this is just a testament to, I definitely have my own biases. I admit them. I don't hide them, but the facts are the facts. And in this case, the facts were something much different than what we were being tipped off to.
Yeah, and there's always that fringe, Sheila, that even when you supply the facts, they still don't believe. And in a way, I get it. I mean, just how incredible would this be, Sheila? The UN in Toronto has got an invasion fleet ready to go out and double jab Canadians with the COVID-19 vaccine. I mean, it's an incredible story. It's the story of the year, the story of the decade, perhaps. Except for one thing, it's not true. And if you don't believe me, folks, and if you think I'm lying, all I can say is we'll just have to reach out to Her Royal Highness Queen Ramona and get your information from there.
Do you know what, though? Hunker down for another round of emails, because when these things get put on a train and then shipped east to get in on a boat to go to wherever they're going, we're going to get another blast of emails. And again, I'm not making fun of the people who send us this information, because I think they send it to us in good faith that they know that we are going to investigate it and we're going to get to the bottom of it, which we did. And I, like many of these people, also think the UN is a sinister, horrible organization full of anti-Semites and terrorists and terrorist enablers. And so naturally, I tend to believe the worst in the United Nations, but unfortunately, or rather fortunately, I would say, that's not the case this time. Yeah, and I'm very proud of your work there, David.
Well, thank you so much, Sheila. And like yourself, I'm not making fun of the tipsters that on face value originally saw this. They saw a building they thought was a pharmaceutical plant. It's not. They saw UN trucks. Some of them are destined for the UN, but not in Canada. They're clearly for bad neighborhoods, militarized zones. If you look at the amount of armor on it, my frustration would be to those after you report the truth, which is, like I said, a good news story, a Toronto manufacturing company doing really good business, and they still say, oh, no, it's, there's a scandal here, there's a conspiracy here. I've got nothing left.
Yeah. Well, there's just some people that doesn't matter the facts, you can't reach them, but at least you tried, right?
Yeah.
I see somebody in the chat saying, but you're a journalist, so you shouldn't have any bias. I disagree with that. The difference between me and the CBC is that I will admit my bias, and I come at things from a conservative viewpoint. I'm completely upfront about that. CBC comes from a liberal viewpoint, a Trudeau gatekeeping viewpoint, and they just refuse to be honest about it. That's the thing. I don't mind the bias. It's the dishonesty I don't like. Yeah. And I think we have a couple more chats, and then I think we're done. We've got a hyper chat of $25. Thank you very much from the J Vlog. He says, drop the Telecaster. I think he means TriCaster. It isn't needed. Try a month without it. Save the money for cameras, etc. I think you're referring to some of the other like broadcast software out there, like I'm currently using XSplit right now to chroma key my background, and there's like StreamYard, I think you might be referring to. But we do things that require a little bit more heavy lifting than what those that software provides to us, and that's why we need the TriCaster.
Oh, but Sheila, he said Telecaster, so maybe he's saying me and you should be dropped. Telecaster.
You know, I could use the break. I could use the break. Think about the last time you didn't see me at the company. That would be the last time I had a day off, which is.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
But we're not complaining, are we, Sheila?
I'm not complaining. I love it. And
Okay.
even when I'm like, I'm going to take time off work, I'm like, oh, I'll just watch this video to make sure we don't burn the company down with that one. And I can't. I feel like the work that we do is too important to step away from. And I do appreciate the flexibility that I can work from home or wherever because we're on the internet, which is perfectly fine. Let's get to the last one. Okay. Hyper Chat from History Club World, who says some comments on the UN story. First, we shouldn't be worried that the UN is needing more armored trucks. Maybe. I mean, they need to look like they're doing something when they're watching the Syrian civil war from the safety of Israel, which David and I saw firsthand. And then it was like the clock struck 4. And they quit. They just like, okay, well, the civil war just works on bankers' hours. They walked down, got in their van, and left.
Yeah, we saw vehicles of that type in Israel when we went there, didn't we, Sheila, in 2018? And believe me, folks, what the Israelis call the United Nations, the UN doesn't stand for United Nations. It stands for United Nothings.
Yeah, yeah. The UN, they bring forward all these motions about how horrible Israel is and how it's violating human rights. And then it's like, but where's the safe place for you to monitor the Syrian civil war? Oh, the top of the Golan Heights, in right. Israel. Okay, right. Gotcha.
Unbelievable.
And they just monitor the Syrian civil war. They're not actually doing something about it, by the way. Second, I would pay to see either Sheila or David in an armored car. I would love to drive an armored car.
Me too. But boy,
no, it's not electric, David. It's not electric.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true. But, I'm thinking, what a blind spot there must be in those puppies, eh, Sheila?
Yeah, I think so, right? Like, it's just like a slit.
Yeah. How do you parallel park downtown driving one of those?
I think you park wherever you want in one of those. Like, you don't have to worry about parallel parking. I've only ever parallel parked once in my life, and it was to pass my driver's test, by the way. And I think that's all I've ever needed it for, so it's fine. And I'm a good driver. I just can't parallel park. And finally, do you think the UN will be ended anytime soon? Definitely not. Especially with the Biden administration re-entering, the World Health Organization and other things that Trump was willing to pull the U.S. out of and cut funding to. Biden's just topping them back up and then some. So I think that with Biden in power, you'll never see a course correction on the United Nations at all.
It is a utopia for bureaucrats, Sheila, let's face it. And the number one job of any bureaucracy is to grow the bureaucracy. So no end in sight anytime soon. Well, folks, thank you.
We got one more. One more just
sorry.
Came in. I know you have to use the studio in a minute, but let's just finish this up. We've got a hyper chat from Wendy Walk, who said you can still report the facts even with the bias. Yeah, I think as long as you know exactly where I'm coming from, and you understand my worldview, then I'm just being honest, and you can also make up your own mind. And now we're done.
Okay, then. Well, thank you so much, Sheila, and thank you to Justin behind the board, and a special thank you to all of you who contributed and threw in a few bucks for us to keep the lights on. Greatly appreciate that. Ezra will be back in this seat at this time tomorrow. No, he won't be. I've just been told.
He's traveling.
This just in, because I believe he's on assignment. Yeah. So Sheila and I will definitely be seeing you on Tuesday.
No, not me.
Maybe seeing you again tomorrow. In the
meantime,
not me.
I'm not there tomorrow. I'm not there tomorrow.